Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of War Infinite Panels. I'm joined solemn by my favorite, not sidekick, co-partner, femme fatale, Sarah.
Hi guys.
Hi. So, if you guys haven't heard the news, and recently, as of it was yesterday, last night on August 28th, 2020, Black Panther Chad Boseman passed away. It was when I heard the news, I was doing the spectator mode podcast, and I was emotionally distraught by it because of how he passed. It wasn't a shooting, anything bad like that. He had stage 3 colon cancer.
Which developed into stage 4 colon cancer over a 4-year period.
Yeah,
Which yeah, if you don't know any sort of internal, I only know this because I work in a laboratory that does cancer research. Internal cancers, especially the digestive system, pancreatic, liver, colon, rectal, like that's rough. That is once it progresses past a certain stage and it does so very quickly. Um, it's very difficult to treat, and the fact that he lived for 4 years just goes to show like what a fighter he was, because that's a very difficult diagnosis.
yeah, and he had it as 2015. So he had it during the time of Black Panther and many other movies he's done, such as Thurgood Marshall, Jackie Robinson, etc. So he was able to pump out his best work while, as well as being these grueling demands, getting through therapy and all that stuff, and doing this. So I have nothing but respect for professionalism of him,
Yeah.
even though I have some different beliefs about Black Panther as a movie, only because of the hype machine behind it. I'm not at it. So like it's like my opinion of Black Panther. It's a great movie, and I love it for what it is. But more like it's people's reaction to escapism versus reality escapism, and that's a whole philosophical argument. But I love it for what it was. It gave people hope. People were looking forward to it. Hopefully, you guys can see through social media. There's tons of interviews he's done for like the Howard University, which was phenomenal, which made me respect him as a person. When he visited those terminal ill kids to see them for a Black Panther thing, this guy was a consummate professional and a good human being, and it sucks we lost another person during this 2020, the worst year of our Lord.
Yeah, and it's also it really speaks a lot to his perseverance that it was not a diagnosis that was publicized. He did continue to work the entire time, and you have to remember that, like, Infinity War and Black Panther are very highly physical movies, and I'm sure he
Yeah,
had stunt doubles, but going through chemotherapy, and other treatments he was going through, because if you have something like this, you don't just undergo one treatment. But
right.
that's a lot. That takes a lot out of you. And the fact that he managed to, you know, stay positive. You see it in just about every interview or like fan meetup that he did. He was always really positive. He was always present. That, and it's truly sad. He died at the age of 43.
Yeah,
He survived by his wife. It just sucks because he was such a rising star. Like, he had done so much. He's actually going to come out in a new Spike Lee movie that they filmed. And he's got another film as well that he got under his belt before he passed away. Though I gotta
yeah.
say, I am one reaction that's got me legitimately pissed off. Is people who were like, "Oh, I hope he filmed Black Panther 2 before he died." Like, fuck you.
Fuck off. Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, like he was in probably at the end, especially he was probably in so much pain. Like
I
fuck
can't
you
ask. Yeah,
and your bullshit. Like, you know, that's not what you should be thinking about right now. Like, this
like
is
post. Yeah, Stan Lee should like make. Hope they made 50 appearances of Stan Lee before he died. No, f off. All right. If we see it, we see. If we don't, we don't. It's not the end of the world. All right.
exactly. So that's one thing that I'm like, and I mean, it is something that they'll have to think about moving forward, whether they will make Black Panther 2. Will they replace him? Will they replace the character of T'Challa specifically? It would be interesting to sort of see if we had his sister be Black Panther. That would be maybe an
That happened in the
interesting.
comics actually, Shira.
Yeah.
But then the darker, if you guys know the comics, Shira gets trapped, gets somewhat quote unquote killed, and then he becomes Black Panther again. So I'm like, my take of it is just let the property rest for a while. Let's not, right, because this is
Right.
a huge blow to
Right.
an African American community, to Black comic fans, to everyone. It's just like this man was a professional, good human being. He walked, he talked, he busted his career like for 20 plus years of getting the business slowly building up, and he finally got that the top of the card. And it's like it's hard because it's like he mentioned one interview he had. I was late last night listening. He was saying that I had to bulk. He had while he had this disease, cancer. He had to bulk up. He had to slim down and bulk up, all taking chemotherapy, doing this. It's like, Jesus, man, you really do love being an actor.
Yeah.
You really do care about your position.
Nope, he really did, and it's tough. So we'll have to see what Marvel. I mean, Marvel has obviously put out a statement saying how sad they are to have lost them. A lot of his co-stars have come forward, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but at end of the day, it's just like it's just such a hit, not just for the African American community, because obviously that's huge. Black Panther has such an impact, but also, for people who just love movies and love good acting. He was such a phenomenal talent, and the fact that we lost him so young and that he only really did 13, 14 movies.
Yeah.
It's tragic. It really is, because he had so much left to give, but unfortunately cancer does not give a shit about how good or bad you are.
You got it. Yeah.
So, rest in power, man.
Yeah, rest in power. Nothing but respect for a brother. And speaking of respect for a brother, I'm going to switch to the other half to give you guys some angry stuff. The disrespect of a brother. I got more bad news about Dan DiDio. And I am not, trust me, I may not like this guy. Trust me, you guys may have noticed my rant from the previous episode podcast, 2 podcasts ago, really. But more news came out about Daniel DiDio. So the news that came out for him was from another comic art source. Apparently, there was a black artist, and I'm going to say it's Jamal Igle. So Jamal Igle was an artist for DC. He works from time to time, and he was the premier Supergirl artist at one point, one of the best Supergirl ones, in my opinion, with him and Sterling Gates. And at the time when they were looking him up, Dan DiDio didn't want to really hire Jamal Igle for some magical reason. He was looking to pay. If someone could do Jamal Igle's art style, if you've seen it's really good, do that but cheaper.
Right.
And it's business, it makes sense. But why undercut this guy and you pay Sterling Gates? That's a whole different thing. As well as Jamal Igle found out through other contacts. And since you may know that some artists had pen names, my pen name is Matthew Zyricos, something like that, whatever, a pen name. Matthew Fritchman's pen name is Matt Fraction. Matt Fraction is Matthew Fritchman, right? So Dan DiDio found Jamal Igle's pen name and tried to charge himself the lower amount. So let's say the amount was like $500 per page. I'm just making a number up, guys. And he was going to pay $250 a page. Jamal Igle found like, dude, you were trying to cheat me? What the hell? I mean, obviously the problem got hashed out, but I just want you to know, Dan DiDio was not willing to pay a top artist his money because, he was black.
Yeah.
So I want you to know, good old, that's why Dan's on the business, and I'm happy about that. He was an idiot and always will be an idiot. But it's like, that's ridiculous. You got the guy you wanted, and instead of just paying him what you want, which is your job, by the way, you have the money, you're owned by, Warner Brothers, they have money. You're like, nah, I'll find someone cheaper to do the same art style. I always hate that mentality. That doesn't work anywhere because people will know it's a knockoff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just bad Dan DiDio news. So we can skip that. And speaking of non-Dan DiDio news, we can talk about my main man, DC Fandome, which was somewhat interesting.
There was a lot that happened in the DC Fandome. In fact, I kind of think that the DC Fandome is what I wanted San Diego Comic-Con to be. Like, they just, even though they didn't super know what's going to be happening, what they're going to be putting out in the future, they pulled out all the stops. So let's go through it one by one. So in sort of like a smaller reveal, we've got a new trailer for Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah.
We get to see Kristen Wiig, Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, in both sort of her pre-Cheetah and then full Cheetah form, which is interesting. I still have to say, I don't super love Gal Gadot's acting. I think it's basically perfect for Wonder Woman and then nothing else. I
like Gal Gadot as a voice actor because she was in Wreck-It Ralph 2. She plays a strong female character great.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I'll give her that. Like, if I see her on screen, I'm like, I don't know. There's just something like not quite fluid about her.
Yeah, I think the thing about describe her is that it's not that she's one-dimensional. It's just that it's a perfect example. Like I would say, typecasting. She's great at this type, strong female independent X characters, right?
Who's also a little bit naive.
Who's a little bit naivete. So she can play that well, but everything else you scratch and go like, nope.
Yeah,
She has the
but
look though. I'll
yeah,
give that much.
she's gorgeous, and and I don't doubt that she is sincere in her attempts. It's just, I don't know. This is not to shit on Gal Gadot. The movie's going
No,
to be
no, no,
great,
exactly.
I'm sure. So that was a thing. We also got a trailer, a pretty epic trailer, I can't lie, for the Snyder cut of Justice League. Um, but I think, as Matt and I discussed when we first saw it, it just looks like a lot of cosmetic
Changes, yeah,
fixes, yeah.
yeah,
And like, it had come out later through the actor who plays Cyborg, that Joss Whedon was a massive asshole.
yeah, which is believable at this point. I mean,
It's
he
pretty
did
par
be.
for the course, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Mr. Weed, like I said, Whedon's creatively smart as a person. He is human garbage,
Yeah,
and
so
there is a reason why Marvel got rid of him. Outside of him, he cannot take criticism. There's a reason. So there's a
yeah,
reason, guys.
there's a reason for the treason. So yeah, so I think in some ways it's probably cathartic for the actors and the crew, as well as like the fans, to sort of see Joss Whedon's version smooshed a little bit, like, out of the way. For DC fans, this is a big deal. And yeah, I don't hold it against them. I personally am just like, okay, like, that's nice. Like, I'm happy for y'all. I'm happy that this exists for you. Again, hopefully the cosmetic changes do make somewhat of a difference, and maybe there will be also some scenes that didn't make it into the final cut, or they'll have people do table read styles where they just do like animatic over it, so that you can see. But yeah, it'll be an interesting thing to see. Now, as we move forward, I do want to touch on the two video games that
Hmm.
came out in DC Fandome, and I actually horrifying admission here. I do like video games. I'm not one of those people who's like, I don't like video games.
Oh,
Um, I do, but I just don't really have much time to play them, unfortunately. So I do have like a video game system, and I do play every so often, but I don't play pretty frequently. So
yeah,
I feel super bad about that. But there are two video games coming out from DC which look dope as hell. The first one is Gotham Knights. It takes place in a world where Batman is supposedly killed.
right. This actually is the sequel to the last Batman Arkham game, so
Yeah.
it kind of fills off that.
Yep. So we get to see, and it looks like it's all these characters are going to be playable. We have Batgirl, Barbara Gordon Batgirl. We have Nightwing. We have Robin, and we have Jason Todd Red Hood, which is going to
Hmm.
be awesome.
Yes.
So that one seems like a lot of fun. They each have their special abilities and special weapons. So I'm excited to see where they go. I also don't know if we're going to see any of the other characters pop up, like Cassandra Cain or Stephanie. What's her
Yeah.
Stephanie Brown? I think was one
Yeah,
of the
that's
other
Stephanie Brown. Yep.
Robins.
Spoiler. Hmm.
Oh yeah, listen,
Yeah,
we're
you
all
got it.
fans here. It's
Yeah,
fine.
you got it. You got you. Like, it's Stephanie Brown. You were right. I'm
Yeah.
giving you your right. Just let her,
Mhm.
also known as a spoiler, just giving the whole title, but it doesn't matter because she was
Also
also
known as
Batgirl.
yes, also known as spoilers. Um, and then the other one that I actually think that I would really, not that Gotham Knights doesn't seem great, guys, but the one that I would really want to play is Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League.
Yeah.
Because that looks like so much fun. I feel like Captain Boomerang only really works in video games, because otherwise it's just like he throw boomerang real good.
And he's Australian and drunk.
Yeah, no. So, Kill the Justice League is Suicide Squad taking on evil Justice League. Superman's gone rogue. So now they have to basically do what they were intended to do, which is to fight Superman.
Right.
Which is awesome. Very excited to see those two, especially the last one, and sort of swerving off of Suicide Squad. We get our first look, not just at the cast, but also some scenes for the Suicide Squad, as directed by and written by James Gunn.
Yeah.
Um, it is a very, very interesting lineup of characters. We do have, of course, Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie coming back. And we have Jai Courtney coming back as Captain Boomerang. But that's it. Everybody else is new. So we have John Cena as Peacemaker,
Yep.
which he describes as a douchey Captain America, which is correct.
Yep.
We have Idris Elba coming in as Bloodsport, which is
Yep.
probably their substitution for Deadshot. It's Deadshot, right? Or Killshot?
Yeah. Dutch. Yeah.
Deadshot. There's so many variations on that name. But we also have a bunch of really interesting characters coming in. We've got Polka Dot Man, aka the lamest sounding name, but also like kind of interesting. We have Ratcatcher 2. We have a gender bent Soul Soria.
Yeah.
Which is going to be very interesting. I'm trying to think through everybody else that is on. I'm trying to, because I mean, there's King Shark or Shark King. Feel so bad.
King Shark.
King Shark, which again is going to be interesting considering that's going to be basically. Oh, and we have the Weasel, which is so the design of that character. It's Sean Gunn, which is James Gunn's brother. That character is so creepy looking. I was like, ooh, that's so scary. It's got really bulgy eyes. Oh, I forgot, obviously. Duh. Amanda Waller and Rick Flag are both back, both played by the actors from the first movie. So I forgot about those guys. I feel bad. We do have Peter Capaldi coming in as the Thinker.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And then the one casting choice. Oh, and Michael Rooker. Obviously, Michael Rooker is here. He plays Savant. If it's not a James Gunn, it's not a James Gunn picture if his brother isn't in it, and if Michael Rooker isn't in it. Yeah.
And then give the boy work.
Yeah. No. And then for me, the weirdest choices are TDK, who is apparently is played by Nathan Fillion, is an original character, or at least like a very minor character who got sort of revamped for the movie. And then arguably, in my opinion, a very bad choice is Pete Davidson as Blackguard.
Pete Davidson's
in this, baby. I'm like, so you just wanted like douche energy, huh? I mean, like, listen, not to shit on Pete Davidson, because he's gone through a lot, and like he clearly like clicks with some people because he's like super famous, even though he wasn't super funny on SNL, but whatever. You know, it'll be interesting to sort of see Blackguard. As far as I understand it, Blackguard is like a group, and he just is one of them.
Okay.
Right? I don't know. That's what I've heard. Is that he's just part of like a group of these guys, so he's just going to be like one of them. But honestly, like if you look at the sort of behind the scenes, it looks so cool.
Yeah.
It looks so epic and big, and I'm like, yes, this is the kind of thing that James Gunn should direct.
I mean, he's good at these rat tag team type movies, so I'm gonna stick to his guns. LOL.
He's good at quirky ensemble pieces.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where they go with the story. Apparently, it's going to be that they need to liberate a South American country. Now, is that the starting point, and then they veer off somewhere else, or if that's the whole movie, we don't know yet. But it's going to be super cool. I'm very excited. So that's one of the bigger ones. But the biggest, I mean, there was also Black Adam news, but it was just a logo and an animatic. I don't count that for anything.
Oh, and Dwayne Johnson being, Dwayne Johnson. No one can turn down Dwayne Johnson.
No, we all love him. God bless you, Dwayne.
God bless him, yeah.
But the biggest news out of DC Fandome, arguably, I'm sure somebody's going to come back and be like, yeah, this was bigger. No, shush your face. Shush it. Shush it. I have final say in what big news is. Basically, we got the first trailer for The Batman featuring love him or hate him, R-Pats, Robert Pattinson. And the trailer is as dark and as gritty as I think we all hoped it would be. For me, I mean, obviously we have a handful of villains. We have Catwoman, played by Zoe Kravitz. We have Penguin, played by Colin Farrell in some really heavy makeup for whatever reason. Like, all right. And then we also have, and it wasn't obviously stated, but it's pretty clear that the main villain, or the biggest villain at least, is going to be the Riddler.
Yes.
Which is going to be really cool to see. He's played by Paul Dano, who Paul Dano sort of he is often cast as a villain or like the puppy that you beat because you know he is very soft and squishy. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he often plays sort of like the innocuous white boy villain. So
Mm-hmm.
he plays the Riddler, which I'm very excited to see.
Yeah. Yeah, my take of the movie is that I'm not a fan of his look. Patterson's look in the movie looks a bit more, a little very emo-esque in the hair and stuff. I'm for a more clean-cut Batman, but that's about it.
Mm,
Everything else from a trailer-wise, it seems like it's again stuffing the car with so many villains, so many stuff to do, which can be good and or bad. But I look not that good per se because they're stuffing so many people in there, as well as it's like they're, I don't know, is Snyder directing this?
no, it's Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves. Okay, so that's fantastic. It feels like they're taking bits and elements of random parts of comics. You have, 100-year Batman here. You got the Dark Knight elements in here. It just like thematically seems like it's been all over the place, but at the same time, is this is the last hurrah for Batman because the last quote unquote Batman movie was not good.
Yeah, no.
So I can see why they did this, but I'm hoping for it to be somewhat successful. Because when I look at Patterson, the way he looked in that movie, he should have been a Langstrom. He should have been we even saw Hugo Strange in the trailer. That the guy with the beard, the glasses, looked like Hugo
Mhm.
Strange, the crazy guy who runs the asylum.
Yeah.
So like I said, it looks like a jam packed card, but I hope all the pieces work together because the best Batman movies or the best comic movies in general are just less is more. You know,
Yeah,
less
no.
is more.
I totally agree. I don't think Pattinson's going to be bad. I think he gets a lot of bad rap, and I got to say like if you've watched any of his other works like The Lighthouse, um I can't think of other R. Pat's movies right now, but he's
The Lighthouse.
it's Saturday morning, my brain is or Saturday afternoon, my brain is tired. He is actually a really good actor. He really knows what he's doing. Like he and Kirsten Stewart have come or Kristen Stewart. Damn it. I keep saying Kristen Stewart have
Kirsten.
both come a long way from Twilight. Like give them a shot, guys. Like let's not be those people.
I think
Yeah.
it's just hard to escape that type of stigmatism. Like the same way as much as I'm not a fan of Dan DiDio, people try to associate the stigmatism like, well, he used to do good stuff. I liked him back in the day. It's like, nah, that's not how this works.
I
This
mean,
is
true, but
yeah.
Dan DiDio is a racist, and our Pattinson just happened to be in a movie that was popular with teenage girls. Like,
Yes, and all the girls wanted apparently all his apparently more shirtless scenes. I'm like, do we really need more? And I guess it makes money. So guys, if you want to make a movie, take off your shirt, sell what your mama gave you. That's all I'm saying. Make the money.
off with his shirt. That's the
That's
song.
that's
It's from Gallivant, so don't judge me. It's a real song.
it's
TBH, I was always slightly more of a fan of like, why are we all fighting over this stupid human girl?
yeah.
Because she's stupid. Like, just make out with each other.
Yeah, go full rainbow. That would be the greatest plot twist. Go full
I mean,
rainbow.
it would not happen because the lady who wrote it is like a diehard Mormon, but
Die Hard. Are you kidding me? Die Hard. Oh, jeez. All right. Well, that's
she's
that.
a
No, that kills that one.
and that kills that. So, but yeah, so that a lot happening at DC Fandome. It looks like DC's gonna have a really big couple of years. They've been really fighting to sort of turn the tide of like being known as like the shitty live action comics
Yeah.
universe. I mean, I think Wonder Woman 1980. I mean, Wonder Woman kicked off the oh look we can be good, followed by Shazam and Aquaman. Aquaman wasn't bad. It just
No,
wasn't
Aquaman was
great.
fun. It was a
It
fun
was
movie.
it was fun. It didn't hurt anybody. Um, so they're turning it around. So I think between hopefully the Batman, Wonder Woman 1984, Black Adam, they can sort of start course correcting
Yeah.
these
And
things.
yeah, the only thing I hated about the DC fandom was just the fans being fans. It's like the outrage. Oh man, we're gonna put DC Marvel in the mud. We're gonna beat them, and totally forgot like Marvel still has plans in the future, guys. Remember? Like,
Surprise, Marvel's still making movies, or they will soon be making movies. Speaking of Marvel, or are we
oh
ready
wait,
to?
actually, to talk more about the
Oh,
DC fandom,
yes, actually,
there
go
was a couple of
nuts.
people. There was a couple of high DC guys that had some interesting opinions about it. Particularly Dan Panasian. He's an artist for DC. He's done a couple of great works. Worked on Harley Quinn. Worked a couple of Batman books. Did a lot of covers in the modern era. And this is his take. I'm just going to read a quick paragraph.
Do it.
DC fandom looks amazing. It's exceptionally well done. The production value is incredible. The focus on diversity and inclusion are perfectly executed, except one minor detail. the actual comic books and talent that created the entire brand itself, the backbone of all intellectual property and genesis of all the TV lines are not there. Yeah, the lack of focus of comics, and that is something I definitely notice and kind of agree with.
Mm. I
Because it's
mean,
like
it's
there
true.
isn't, yeah, and it's like, and it's also like, even though he agrees with this, look at currently Marvel. Camilla Khan is being pushed to the front. She's on a new video game. Miles Morales got a new facelift. He's popular now. The new IPs are finally, getting there.
Mm.
So I
Yep.
definitely look at it as I agree with him on this. And yes, the new stuff is comic context is great, is amazing, but it's like the fact of the lack of comics and news in that, because as I mentioned the comics end, and I mentioned many times in the podcast, during the last 10 years of bad stuff during the DiDio and Bob Harris era, and all those guys got fired, they focused 99.9% on near Batman stuff, and everything else just went to the wayside. Very few products kind of got mentioned or went over during the Dan DiDio timeline, or Bob Harris called both times. The timeline we got Suicide Squad got noticed, Harley Quinn became famous, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So that's not a good 10 years and two books came out. While you look at the other side of the spectrum, Marvel, we got the Inhuman. Well, Kamala Khan became famous. Squirrel Girl was famous. Miles Morales got a new facelift.
Gwenpool.
Gwenpool, exactly. All these new IPs that be potential killers in the future, and then Marvel making movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, an old '80s property, just became a smash hit. Thank you, James Gunn. I really
Yep.
mean that. Thank you. Things like that. Ant-Man being popular, for God's sakes. As much as people may not like it, Miss Marvel looked good on film than she did in comics. So I agree with Dan Panesian on this, because it's like, as great as these IPs are, they're running a lot of the term, can I say it? Old guard,
Yeah.
or somewhat the newish old guard. There's not a lot of new IPs outside of Shazam and Aquaman, and it's hard to say. Wonder Woman feels like a new IP because she's been around forever.
Yeah. I mean, even Shazam has had, you know, like was one of the earliest IPs for DC.
Yeah,
Like Billy Batson, was
he was
like a post World War II IP for
Yeah,
them.
he was originally called Captain Marvel. He was the original Captain Marvel,
Yeah.
Marvel. He was the original before copyrights.
Well, that's a whole thing. That's like a
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
whole
But
can of
true,
worms.
true.
We
But yeah,
we
but
cannot
yeah,
get into that right
no,
now.
not right now. No, no, no. But it's just interesting that I understand where Dan Padigian is coming from, because he's
Yeah.
currently DC, and I do feel, in a sense, like, all jokes aside, Batgirl, as popular as a character she is, has never really had a live action limelight in probably even a long time, or even ever. I'm surprised she hasn't got a push in the sense of diversity. Uh, Teen Titans has always been up and down. There's a couple of things I'm just surprised that hasn't really got the push under DC that's been
Yeah.
popular for the
Yeah.
last decade. Like, Birds of Prey should wait, actually. Birds of Prey did get a push, but I'm thinking of the original Birds of Prey, the old school Birds of Prey, Oracle, and all that jazz. But
Yeah.
in all seriousness, it's like, yeah, and I'm glad for DC. I'm glad you guys are pushing it. You guys have just managed to convince people the last 10 years didn't happen.
Yeah. They're like, please,
Yeah,
just
please,
ignore.
I give 100% for this, but I do not. I think this will help you change your image, but it would change the tide of your current problem of being very reliant on old guard and the Bat family. I don't think so, unless you change how you do things. Like, there's been some reports that I think Aquaman 2 might be slightly darker, and I'm like, don't do that. Aquaman was fun.
Yeah.
Let
Don't
him be a fun man.
just please, no more dark. I
No
mean,
more.
like Batman can be dark because Batman is always dark. Like we don't need to go back to the '60s,
Goofy,
Cesar Romero, Adam West,
Adam West.
Batman.
God bless that man, though.
I mean, no, God bless them both, but like, we don't need to go back to that. Like we've moved on. And ultimately I think, gritty is fine for Batman. High action naivete for Wonder Woman is awesome, like Power of Love, whatever. Aquaman should be fun. Shazam should be fun. Like, it's okay to laugh. Like, I feel like someone hurt DC, and you have to be like, it's okay to laugh again, DC. It's all
Yeah,
right.
it's pretty crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and speaking of things of DC just letting go properties, as I'm talking about, I could probably make a small transition.
Yeah.
DC has announced they'll be canceling the comic side. They're canceling Teen Titans. They're canceling They're canceling Young Justice. They're canceling Suicide Squad, the comic book, and Hawkman. They're canceling Constantine under Black Label in the Sandman verse. So it's like, all these non, like, Bat Family or top pillar book companies really doesn't have a chance to stand, because you don't build around them.
Yeah.
So, Suicide Squad's popular now, so they can kind of cancel a book here and there because it at least got on mainstream. But when we're going to get Constantine the Hellblazer come back, we're going to see a proper Young Justice that isn't animated. Teen Titans, should have been a classic property because people loved that cartoon during their younger teen years when it was on Cartoon Network.
I mean, they still have the live action show.
They do have a live action show, but that live action show is gonna read my cue card here. Questionable.
Yeah. Questionable.
Questionable. I'm being polite. Yeah, question. But yeah, so
yeah, so DC, it looks like it put on a good show. It's struggling a little bit under the surface, especially on its comic side. So we'll just have to see sort of how this shakes out, in the future. But it's one of those things you can't really control. They don't seem to really have the management style necessary to keep everyone happy.
True, as well as they recently did blow up the entire company, and only I think it's just Jim Lee left, so they got to build new management. And speaking of good things and hopefully new management, DC Comics has finally announced they're going to bring back Static Shock in comic and movie form. Milestone Media is back. Woo!
Woo!
Woo! And the little side tangent, Dan DiDio, guys, let you guys notice. Dan DiDio did during his entire time there. People were pushing Milestone Media, please come back, bring back Icon, bring back all this stuff. No, he was just not doing it. The moment he left, it comes back. Wonder why?
Surprise.
Surprise. So, yeah, so Milestone Media is coming back. We'll be getting Static Shock in a new way. Hopefully, written with top African American creators such as David Walker, maybe Chuck Brown, some other guys in the industry. And we'd love to see, because this was one of my favorite comic line when I was really younger, particularly Static Shock. So it's great. And all the co-founders are going to relaunch it, and it's going to be that, and it'll be so. This is a very interesting story about it. So, the original co-founders and creators of Milestone Media, Derek Dingle and his summer friends Danny Conray and Reginald Hunlin, I believe. There was a lot. They tried to create it as an imprint in 2018, and it was halted by a lawsuit from Dwayne McDuffie's widow, Charlton Fulton, who inherited 50% of Milestone Media.
Oof.
And she claimed she was being shut out of the new venture because, this is my husband's, creation, Dwayne McDuffie.
Yeah.
And the suit was settled last year in 2019. So it's finally gone ahead. And again, this is under Dan DiDio's watch. And as I mentioned before, he didn't want to pay royalties. The man... His wife, man, come on.
Nope. Yeah. Well, as we all know, Dan DiDio is an asshole.
Massive asshole. Massive. It's like there's asshole, but there's massive. But all as soon as I'm yeah, true. I'm just happy this is coming into play, and finally, maybe they'll reprint the older stories and some of the newer stories. And I definitely want people to read Static Shock because Static Shock reminded me of outside a younger version of the classic Luke Cage story type, the last Luke Cage comic. And I really, really liked this as a kid because I grew up learning, like, even a TV show where I was on, Kids WB had that same energy, minus some of the language and little things. But it was great because you get to see a humanistic hero, which is very hard to do in comics these days. In general, just have a human aspect to it,
Yeah.
So Milestone Media, thanks for coming back. Woo! We did it.
Excited.
Very excited.
So now we look from the very pretty but a little trash fiery side of DC we're gonna swing all the way to Marvel Sony because yes, I know. So we started with Marvel, and we're gonna end with Marvel. Basically, if you haven't heard, even though Marvel really isn't hyping up any of its big productions because again, no one knows when this COVID-19 pandemic is going to be over. They have brought on Olivia Wilde to the Sony Marvel Spider-Verse. She will be directing a female-led film. Now, we don't know which one, right? Which is the whole thing. The script is going to be written by Katie Silverman, who actually worked with Wilde on Booksmart, which is a movie that Olivia Wilde made, which was not super critically very well received, but did not make a lot of money at the box office. Which, considering it was about two teenage girls, that's unfortunately.
That sounds like a TV kind of movie. It sounds like a TV or like a spy type movie. Just a title, Booksmart.
Yeah, no, it was tough because basically it was a movie about two high school girls who go partying, but they're not hot, and one of them is a lesbian. So it was just like,
Wow.
This was never going to make money.
That's way too radical for. Yeah, it was. When this movie came out, like 5-10 years ago.
No, like 3.
Ring, yeah, that was too controversial.
Yeah, well, I mean, even now, I don't think it would get that many people. But anyway, circling back, there has been a lot of talk. It's going to be live action. Um, it's going to be big. We don't know who it's about. We already know that S.J. Clarkson has been tapped for a Madam Web movie, so that's not it. And Sony has already been working to develop Black Cat and Silver Sable, either one movie or two movies. It's not super clear. So really, all she has left are Spider Woman or Spider Gwen, aka Ghost Spider.
Wait,
Now,
actually, there's a third character.
oh,
This character came out from Popular Spider Verse. Is the Silk, the also new Spider Woman?
oh yeah,
That's a possibility too,
I
but I don't
forgot
think
her.
Marvel pulled the trigger on her because she's super new. Gotta
Yeah.
develop it. Yeah,
I don't think, yeah, I think they'd want to go maybe with a legacy character, but we don't know. We have no idea. Like, all this shit is always up in the air with Marvel. They could do just about anything, but I will say I don't think it's Ghost Spider, if only because she's such a big part of Into the Spider Verse that I don't see them double casting in the same universe, or you know what I mean, like in the same couple of years, it would be a little rough. So I don't think that's what's happening. So Spider Woman might be the best bet. It could also be Silk. Who the hell knows?
yeah,
Um, but that's going to be coming out probably in like 2023,
yeah.
2024.
Super
In
future.
the super future. There's been also a lot of debates about whether people would want Mary Jane Watson, Spider Woman, Gwen Stacy, Spider Woman, or
Or the
Jessica
classic.
Drew,
Yeah, Jessica Drew, yeah.
the classic Spider Woman. Again, I think it's cool. I'm glad that they're pushing for more female directors and more diversity. Spider Man has always been one of those properties where, generally speaking, studios feel a little safer doing experimentation.
Yes,
So
yeah,
I'm not surprised, but we'll just have to see how that works out in the long run.
yeah.
So
I think yeah, and I think that's I think it's all the Marvel news. But I think personally, if she was Spider Gwen or Ghost Spider, it would be super interesting. Her cast her director because of hey, you need to look better in the camera. You need to look in the camera. Oh
ah,
god. Ah.
I
If she's
love
going
it.
crazy, no, she's director and actor. Oh, she is going crazy. It's happening.
I mean, to be fair, there have definitely been director
Director actors.
actors,
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
know, whatever. I can live
yeah,
with it. I think that maybe perhaps it's time to round this out with some recommendations. Matt, do you want to go first?
yeah. And in honor of Black Panther, I'm not going to recommend Black Panther, but I'm going to recommend two of my favorite Black Panther runs. The complete Black Panther print by Marvel under original Hunland, the classic. And if you like that, please read up Black Panther under Christopher Priest, which is more modern 2000s. Both of those capture the essence of Black Panther in modern context and does a really well job of character Black Panther that was much portrayed in the movies. So please check those two out. You'll be supporting two African American writers. So even though Christopher Priest is more freelance and he was at DC for a while, Reginald Hudlin's also been freelancing. He will be at DC for I believe Moscow Media. They give him the call. I highly recommend. Please check out the Black Panther runs, the complete one by Reginald Hudlin, and check out the ones by Christopher Priest because I think Christopher Priest has done 3 or 4 volumes, and they did Reginald Hudlin 1 and 2 books. So please check them out if you're really interested in supporting Marvel and helping out proceeds to the Black Panther Fund. And if anyone has made a donation fund, I don't think he needs it to Chad. I don't think he needs it for his funeral. I mean, he was well paid, but please send your thoughts and prayers out to the guy. He's really was an example of Black excellence.
I actually also am going to recommend a Black Panther comic. I'm going to recommend Black Panther: World of Wakanda, which was written by Roxane Gay.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah, no, that was a great run. It won an Eisner Award for Best Limited Series in 2018. It was also Ta-Nehisi Coates,
yeah,
who's a fantastic writer, also served as consultant. So Roxane Gay and Ta-Nehisi Coates, two huge voices in the Black literary community, coming together on Black Panther was just such a phenomenal run. I don't even want to spoil it. It's very short. It's only 5 issues. You can
yeah,
get it in one trade. And honestly, like it really deals with sort of Black identity and power and like Wakanda being a nation in this massively diverse continent that consistently gets shit on and stereotyped. It's a beautiful run of books. If you're intimidated by some of the bigger stuff that Matt has just recommended, which you shouldn't be, like you should just dive in wholeheartedly. But if you want a sort of like a way to sort of dip your toe in the water, Black Panther: World of Wakanda is a fantastic, short, easy to get read. Cannot recommend it highly enough. Just truly fantastic. And just, you know, if you're feeling the hurt right now, a really good way to sort of soothe the soul.
Yeah. And with that, I guess that will be the end of the podcast. We thank you, Chad, for giving us great movies and being Black Panther, and again for being Black excellence from everything you were. You busted your entire behind to get here to this point, and you finally got here, only to be cut so short. But you were as talented as you earned your spot. So thanks again. This is Matt and Sara with an epilogue. Hopefully, sign off because I don't know if you have an epilogue as well because I'm heartbroken.
Yeah, no, totally, absolutely. We'll catch you all next time.
See ya.